All right, excellent. Well, welcome to our April 19th hug. And thank you, Tony. Thank you, Sean, for coordinating, hosting, organizing, and for the warm welcome. My name is Amanda Schumacher, and I will be your guest speaker for today. And today I'm looking forward to talking to you more about generative AI and how it can be your wingman and not your enemy in marketing and sales. So we have an exciting agenda ahead of us today. First, I will talk a little bit about the generative AI landscape. It is impossible to cover such the huge landscape, especially with all of the developments that are coming recently, in just a few minutes. So I'm going to give a pretty high-level overview. And then I'll get into more specific use cases for how generative AI can augment marketing and sales. So I'll get into some specific prompts and use cases, mostly focusing on ChatGPT, for how AI can help you with SEO, content creation, sales outreach, social media, and how you can use it internally. At the end, I will cover some FAQs, and then we'll have an open Q&A. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Oh, I had somebody ask if we could make the slides a little bit larger. Let me see. Are the slides appearing small for anybody else? Tony, are they appearing pretty small for you? They are? Okay, let me see if I can figure this out.
They are a little small, but I don't know how much control we have to make them bigger on this platform.
Yeah, it's interesting. It has a gray background on either side, even though I'm sharing my slides on full screen.
They're not too small. I think if you can expand your browser windows to full screen.
Can you still see my screen right now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. It looks like it's worse when I go into slideshow mode. So why don't I just keep it on this view? Not quite as slick as the sidebar or as the presentation mode, but it might be a little bit easier to read.
That's fine with me.
All right. So as your speaker for today, I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Amanda Schumacher, and you may see me referred to in some places, including my email, as Amanda Danielson. That is my maiden name. Just got married recently. And I am especially excited for the Boston Hug today because I am a Bostoner myself. I live in Somerville near Porter Square, and I've been in the area for the last 10 years. So more about me. I've been a HubSpot employee for coming up soon on 6 years. So I've spent my time at HubSpot in a few different places. My first few years, I was working in customer technical support. Then I spent a few years working in professional services as a technical consultant. And finally, for the last few years, I've been working as a product manager under CMS Hub. The team that I currently PM is the Content Intelligence team. Content Intelligence owns a variety of tools, including our SEO recommendations and topic clusters tools. But most recently, we built the backend framework that powers the Content Assistant private beta. And right now, we're cooking up an AI-powered blog post idea generator that we're hoping will go into alpha in mid-May. So throughout the presentation, I'll give some sneak peeks at the demo or at the Content Assistant private beta. And later on in the talk, I will provide an avenue for anyone who is not in the beta that's interested in being added. Just a bit about me outside of work. I love fitness, was a competitive swimmer through college, and now I'm just a washed up college athlete. So I've been enjoying going to spin classes and hiking when I get a chance. And yeah, I have 2 beautiful cat babies. One is a ragdoll named Zorro, and one is Balinese. His name is Kato. With that, let's get into it. So I'll start very high level with the current generative AI landscape. And so the first thing that I will touch on is, what is generative AI? I'm sure by now you've all heard of it. The news is full of mentions of ChatGPT, and there's new models coming out, new companies integrating the technology that are making news headlines every day. You may have seen beautiful images on Instagram from Stable Diffusion and been fooled thinking that they were real when they were actually not. You may have read expertly crafted articles and been shocked to learn that they were not written by a human, but by an AI. The quality of the media generated by AI has gotten so good that it can seem like it's magic, or like there are little robots working behind the scene to complete your request. So let's demystify it a little bit. Generative AI is not magic, even though it can seem that way. It's a type of intelligence that processes massive amounts of data and then learns to generate new data based on patterns and predictions. So it can be used for a lot of things, but some of those things are creating images, creating text, videos, audio, and more. There are two main types of generative AI that I will talk about today, and those are generative adversarial networks, or GAN, and generative pre-trained transformers, known as GPTs. And I promise this is the most technical that I will get for today. A GAN is a deep learning architecture that consists of two networks. So there is a generator network and a discriminator network. Think of them sort of as two rivals like Joker and Batman, and they're constantly trying to outwit each other. The generator is the Joker, and it's trying to constantly foil or fool the discriminator, which is sort of like Batman. The generator learns to generate new data by transforming random noise into an output that's intended to be similar to real data. It's then passed over to the discriminator, or Batman, who's trying to distinguish between the fake and the real data. So those two networks are trained together in a competitive process until the generator is able to produce output that is so good that it can fool the generator. So this is a common model for generating images and videos that look so real they can fool the human eye. And a GPT is a model that is pre-trained on a large corpus. Corpus just means a lot, basically a large body of text data, such as books, articles, website pages. And it uses an unsupervised learning approach. During training, the model learns to predict the next word in a sequence of words, given the preceding. That process is called language modeling. So once it's pre-trained, the model can be fine-tuned for specific tasks. So it's sort of like a very, very smart, fancy fill in the blank, sort of. Some of the most popular GAN models right now are Stable Diffusion and DALL-E 2, which generate images from text input. In the image that you see to the left there, I asked DALL-E 2 to give me a picture of a squid enjoying a day out in Boston. Fun fact, the squid is internally the unofficial mascot of the HubSpot CMS Hub. And some of the most popular GPT models right now are ChatGPT and now GPT-4, both by OpenAI. There's also Google BERT, which is one of the algorithms used in Google search, and there are others coming up like Meta's Llama and DataStax's DALL-E. I could go on. I'll mostly be focusing on ChatGPT since it's such a hot topic right now. GPT-3 and GPT-4 take in natural language input as requests and return output. So in my example that you see here on the right, I asked ChatGPT to write a haiku about how much Amanda loves Boston. The model produced output with the correct structure and syllable counts. Based on patterns it recognized in other haikus it trained on, it was able to predict and produce this output. Generative AI, as you have likely seen, is exploding in popularity. It's absolutely exploded and picked up steam even more with the release of ChatGPT. ChatGPT has become the fastest growing product of all time, with 100 million users in 2 months. It took Instagram 2.5 years to get this many. And the growth has even outpaced TikTok. Analysts at PwC also predict that AI will add $15.7 trillion to the world economy by 2023. And OpenAI recently received a $10 billion investment from Microsoft in January. That is only OpenAI, and there are thousands of other startups and products and models that are starting to spring up. So it's quickly becoming an essential tool for businesses of all sizes. It's driving innovation and improving efficiency across industries. It's very popular for a reason. There are a lot of things that it's excellent at. It's good at generating new text and images based on user input. It's also great at editing and processing existing text. It can summarize, fix grammar, paraphrase, and reformat text for you. It can make you much more efficient when you are creating content. But despite how it is spread like wildfire, it is also important to be aware of the things that it's not good at. The biggest thing generative AI is not good at is factual accuracy. Remember from before, I said the models are trained to predict what text will come next, sort of like a fill in the blank. So that means it's often guessing. It can produce correct stats if those stats are repeated enough in the data it's trained on. However, it can just as easily insert placeholder numbers that it made up, knowing that the output should look something like that stat. It's also not so great at handling unforeseen circumstances. So if you ask it something it hasn't been trained on, it won't know and it might just make something up. And many models are trained on data sets from a specific time period. For example, ChatGPT was trained on data from 2021 and before. So that means if you ask it about recent news, it might not know about it. Generative AI also performs better the more specific that you are. If you give it vague commands, it might not produce very helpful output. And generative AI for images and videos is still a work in progress. This image that I put here, the I Heart Boston, is when I input into DALL-E 2, asking it to render a t-shirt that says, I love Boston. Based on my experimentation, I found that DALL-E 2 is not very good at rendering any images with text inside of them. There are a few primary benefits of using generative AI that span across almost all of the categories that I'll be introducing on the next slide. One is that generative AI can help you improve your efficiency, largely in the area of content production. Can also help you find resources and put together starting points so that you aren't starting from scratch. Generative AI can also summarize text, edit it, and correct grammar, and improve the quality of your writing. When used for editing, it can ensure consistency throughout your piece. And generative AI can help you get unstuck when you're having major writer's block, or you're really just unsure how to start that email to your prospect or how to start that blog post. Now that we are aware of what generative AI is and what it's good at and what it's not good at, let's talk about how it can help augment different functions within sales and marketing. As I mentioned in the table of contents, I'm going to talk about a few different generative applications of generative AI across SEO, content creation, sales email, social media, and then internal. The first place that we are going to start is with SEO, the mysterious art of ranking and showing up on search engines. Before I get in the weeds here, I'll level set about the major things that AI can and cannot do as it pertains to SEO. One of the most important things that it cannot do, at least what ChatGPT cannot do, is that it cannot give accurate SERP or keyword data unless it is specifically integrated with a provider like SEMrush. So ChatSpot, for example, is integrated with SEMrush and can provide accurate keyword information, but ChatGPT without any kind of extension cannot. So that's one thing to just keep in mind. But GPT for SEO can help you brainstorm topics and keywords. It can help you with lightweight competitor research, and it can help you get started, get off the ground with some technical SEO things. So on the topic of technical SEO, the first use case that I would like to talk about is generating meta descriptions. You can use generative AI to generate things like title tags, meta descriptions, or even alt text. You could use a prompt like the one in the template that I have above. And if you ask it to generate an SEO optimized meta description for a blog post about whatever your blog post is about, it can generate a nice meta description for you to use. And you can even, as an alternative, just paste in the content of your page and ask it to write a meta description for you, which saves you from having to try to distill and summarize everything down into a short little snippet. So this can save you time. You probably want to spend most of your time on the core content, not figuring out how to succinctly summarize it in a meta description. So I mentioned, so there may be some better generative AI models for writing code than ChatGPT, But for pretty simple and standard things like generating schema markup, generative AI tools like ChatGPT can get the job done, or at least provide a really great starting point. For marketers who know that schema markup is important for getting featured snippets on Google, but that don't know the ins and outs of how to code, ChatGPT can be a great help. In the example prompt I gave here, I asked for an example schema markup for a blog article. I also asked it to explain to me exactly what fields I'll need to substitute in. It's sort of like a schema generator tool that you might see online, but I can ask it for clarification or help if I'm unsure about what to put in for a specific field. So this can save you a bunch of time trying to write code and trying to figure out what to substitute yourself. And if you want to just validate it, you can try to run it through a schema validator to make sure that it's in working order before you put it on your page. Those were just a few examples for technical SEO. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is a little bit longer and more opinionated. And I'm going to talk about a process for using generative AI to help with blog topic and keyword brainstorming. So this method uses generative AI alongside a keyword research tool like SEMrush. It also will spill slightly over into the next section on content creation, which will pick up the next steps after selecting a topic. So for this example, we will pretend that our business is a web design agency that designs and builds websites for small businesses. We're starting a blog for our agency, and we want to understand what to blog about and what to try to rank for. And as a note before I go on, this is also a process, these 4 steps, that my team is currently building a fully automated wizard for within HubSpot. Our blog idea generator will help you execute all these steps in HubSpot. But for now, you can do these steps yourself within ChatGPT or a keyword research tool. So for step number 1, you can start off by understanding what questions your audience might have. So if you're trying to look for a starting topic and you're wondering what might be valuable to your audience, you could ask ChatGPT to help as a thought partner. Given the number of web pages and parameters it's trained on, which is billions, it's quite good at giving you ideas. So step number 1 would be to use a prompt like the example that I have in the screenshot of ChatGPT, where you will ask it for some problems and questions that your target persona might have when researching your problem space and product. And you can validate that against your own knowledge of the space and through conversations with your support and sales reps. So in the next step, after you have targeted some potential questions that your customers might have, that you might want to answer in a blog post, you can then use ChatGPT to distill those down into possible keywords that you might try to rank for. So basically take each of those 10 questions and turn them into long tail or short tail keywords. So this will give you a starting list of things to look into. You may have to ask it a second prompt to shorten it even further, depending on if you're getting good results from the step after this, which is looking them up in a keyword research tool. So for step number 3, you can take that as a starting list of keywords and cross-reference them with the keyword tool. So in this example here, these screenshots are from SEMrush. What you can do is paste them in. Maybe you're interested in all of the suggestions, and you can start to look at other factors like the search volume and the difficulty and narrow in on what you should write about from there. So for the example here, I chose timeline website design because there seemed to be a pretty decent balance of low-ish keyword difficulty and monthly search volume. In step number 4, you can use ChatGPT to brainstorm post ideas for that keyword. So now that you have selected your keyword, you validate it in a keyword research tool, you can ask it for actual blog post and SEO optimized titles. I asked it to specifically include my keyword in the title, as this is often in line with SEO best practice. On the same note of number 4, I did just want to highlight that number 4 is something you could do in ChatGPT, but with HubSpot's Content Assistant private beta, you could also now do it inside of HubSpot. So if you want to brainstorm post ideas for your keyword, There's this new / command inside of the HubSpot editors with generate ideas as a command. So if you ask it to generate possible blog post ideas that target your keyword, it can generate this list for you right inside of HubSpot without ever needing to leave the app. All right, so now that we have talked a little bit about SEO, let's move on into how generative AI can help you with content creation. Generative AI can help you with generating copy and images from many different content types. It can generate social media posts. We'll have a whole separate section on social. It can create marketing email copy, blog posts, web content, sales enablement materials. The list goes on. And there are even more tools coming into the market each day to help you with these functions. But I did just want to list a few free options in case you are interested in trying out but not sure where to start. So obviously ChatGPT is the main one that I'm talking about. There's a free research preview, and then there is a premium version if you want to get GPT-4 or different models or different output. But ChatGPT, the free version, is still very, very good. There's also copy.ai, which is a free tool. ChatSpot is in public alpha and can help you out with AI for content creation. There's also the HubSpot Content Assistant private beta, which is available if you're ungated for the beta, is the disclaimer, but it is at all tiers, all HubSpot tiers, including free for now. And then DALL-E 2, which is the image generator that I demoed earlier with the squid, is also free. And you can use that for generating images. As far as best practices for creating content with AI, there are a few that you should keep in mind. You should always proofread and edit all content generated with AI before you publish it. Try to balance AI-generated content with content written by a human, mostly to avoid sounding too robotic. And usually when editing, it's best practice to add in your own voice, your own style, and just make sure that it represents your brand, that you're adding your own creativity into your content. You could also consider adding a disclaimer at the bottom indicating that the post was co-written with GPT-3 or ChatGPT. And this is a good practice, especially in specific industries like healthcare, news, etc., where accurate information is even more important. And you should always fact check any statistics or facts produced by a model because, as we mentioned before, it doesn't always produce factually accurate output. And use extra care in checking non-English content for accuracy and clarity. Many of the models are trained on largely English content. Some tools still offer very, very good support in other languages, but it's still good to just use a careful eye. So with that, let's talk about how generative AI can help you with co-writing blog posts. We'll pick up from that step-by-step process where we left off for our example web agency. Recall that on the last step, we used ChatGPT to help us generate some blog post ideas and titles. So we're going to pick up from there. Let's pretend that from that list way back there, we chose this option here. The blog post title and subject, web design timeline. What factors can impact the project duration? Now that you've got your topic in mind, AI can help you come up with an outline or a structure for your post to help you get started from more than just a blank slate. So you can ask it to suggest talking points, sections to include, and from there you can copy and paste an outline into your editor and use that as a starting point to flesh out your content. You can also do this inside of HubSpot with the Content Assistant beta. So there, again, in the / commands is this generate outline command. And if you enter in a short prompt asking it to come up with a blog post outline about whatever your title is, it can produce an outline that you can then paste into HubSpot and continue on from there. The other thing that it can help you with is writing full paragraphs. And, heck, it can even write the whole blog post for you from end to end. But here's where I recommend exercising caution. Generative AI is most effectively used to help you get unstuck or move more quickly. If you're just using it on really long form content, it can say things that are not factually accurate. Sometimes it can lack substance and be just overly generic. And sometimes it can even repeat itself in long form content. So if you do generate paragraphs using AI, my recommendation would be to use them as a starting point for further refinement. I would add in your own quotes, opinions, data, thought leadership, and personal style in order to produce the highest quality content. And again, I have to showcase the functionality inside of HubSpot as well for Content Assistant. Another / command is generate paragraph. So if you enter in a prompt asking it to generate a paragraph about something, you can click generate and it will create paragraphs for you to add into your HubSpot content. The next thing that AI can help with as part of content creation is editing and refining content, which is something that I mentioned earlier, generative AI is very good at. Sometimes you know exactly what you want to say, but you just can't get it quite right. And so generative AI is a fantastic tool to help you with that. In our Content Assistant private alpha in HubSpot, private beta in HubSpot, we have highlight commands available in marketing email, knowledge base, website pages, and blog. If you highlight text in the editor, you will see a lightning bolt icon pop up, and when you click it, you will get these options here. One of them is rewrite or paraphrase. So if you highlight the text, click rewrite, it can rephrase it for you and hopefully get you unstuck from that writer's block, help you think of a different way to frame what you're trying to say. And you can also change the tone of voice or summarize text from this menu as well. And here's just an example of changing the tone, which I already mentioned. Let's say I wanted to change my tone of my paragraph to be a little bit more friendly or a little bit more witty. If I highlight it, I can ask it to make it more friendly or witty, and it can add that different voice into the content. And last on content creation, there is generating images. So you can create images to add to emails, social posts, blog posts, etc. And DALL-E 2 or Stable Diffusion are good tools to do this. However, a word of caution, it is not great at generating images with text, as I showed earlier. And sometimes it misses the mark when generating humans. You have to be very specific when asking it what you want an image for. So if you're not sure, a good tip is to ask ChatGPT for some ideas for images that might go into your blog post. It may say something like an image of a retro computer, and then you can plug that into DALL-E 2 and get better output from there. This can help you if you're in a pinch and you can't find any good stock images that you liked. Next, let's move on into sales outreach. Let's dig into some use cases in that category. I'm going to start off with another screenshot from the new Content Assistant tools inside of HubSpot. Generative AI can help you formulating and writing out your introduction emails. So I'll show a 3-step process of how you can use HubSpot to help you with this. So whether you're doing cold outreach or even reaching out to MQLs or SQLs, you probably find yourself introducing yourself over and over again with a similar template, maybe even a saved HubSpot template. And the sales templates can definitely help you with this, but generative AI lets you take it to the next level by tailoring your email and your intro email to your specific prospect. So with the Content Assistant beta, you'll see this new write an email for me in the HubSpot sales extension in Gmail. Next, you will see a modal asking you to supply details about the email that you're trying to write. So you'll enter in who you're selling to, what you are selling, who, and you'll describe what you're trying to communicate roughly inside of the email, as well as specifying a tone. After that, it will produce an option, or you can produce more options for the intro email and use that as a starting point. But this screenshot that I'm showing here, which is a real example, also illustrates why it is so important to proofread and use AI content only as a starting point. You will see that it took my input for the customer's company and said that it is my company. So while this is still valuable and can still help me get started, you would definitely want to change that and make sure that it has you from the right company in your intro email. The next thing that it can help you with is it can help you reply to your emails. So this is screenshot number 1 of 2. And a prompt that I sent to ChatGPT. So I received this email from a sales prospect. Please reply to this email for me and offer to meet on Friday between 1 and 5 p.m. And then I pasted in the email that I want to reply to. ChatGPT can help me figure out how to formulate my response. So I can choose this reply, edit it from there, and send my email more quickly and efficiently. Next, it can help you with tailored outreach based on LinkedIn. I would also be careful with this. It doesn't necessarily always get the most information from LinkedIn, but it can be a good starting point. So I found that given a link to a LinkedIn profile, it's pretty decent at generating outreach emails. But again, proceed with caution. You can get really specific and basically say, I want to reach out to this person. Here's their LinkedIn profile. You could also just give a short description instead of a LinkedIn profile of what they do. And then it will produce a potential message, reaching out and specifying, it was able to look at my profile and see that I have experience in digital marketing, that it might find my example company's product offering valuable, and then offers to reach out and schedule a meeting. The other thing that it can help for with sales outreach is helping you as a thought partner or coach to refine and tailor your sales pitch. You can get ideas on how to best position and sell to your prospect and how to position your offering to them. So let's say I have an upcoming call with a prospect. If I describe the prospect to ChatGPT and ask for help with preparing, ChatGPT may recommend position in ways that I hadn't considered before. So in this example, ChatGPT suggested emphasizing that you understand the client's brand and target audience before creating their website. Design agency here. So I want to reach out to a company called Schumacher who markets and designs shoes. Based on the output that I see here, I may see, we'll work closely to understand your brand and target audience. That's a good idea, given that they're designing shoes, that they're in fashion and trendy. This is probably something that they will care about, so I should definitely be sure to bring that up. So again, a good thought partner to help you come up with ideas. It can also help you as a thought partner for anticipating objections. So anticipating possible objections on a sales call so that you can prepare for them. This might give you a list of places to start so that you can prepare in the event that a customer actually does mention those objections, and you will have a plan for how to address them. Next, let's move on to social media and how generative AI can help with social media. If you aren't comfortable with using AI to fully just generate your social posts for you, you can still consider using it to do what I'm calling content derivation, changing content from one format into another. So in this example, I take a blog post and enter in the link, and then I ask it to condense it into a tweet with a hashtag. You could also just paste in the text from the blog post. And then ChatGPT comes up with some ideas for tweets from me. And this just saves me a bunch of time. I already wrote the original content, so I know that it's using that original content to generate the tweets. I know where the tweets are coming from, and I don't have to go through and think of all of them myself. You can even ask it to generate multiple tweets. Maybe I say, please generate 5 additional tweets from this. So if you aren't comfortable, so here it can generate 5 additional tweets for the same blog post. They should be unique, emphasize different facts and points of the article, and it has 5 different links, different tweets here. All right, and the next one that I wanted to highlight is replying to tweets. I found a free ChatGPT Chrome extension for Twitter called TweetGPT. So when you install it, it adds this new icon into Twitter, a robot icon. And if you hover over a tweet, like I have in the example here, you can instantly generate a reply to a tweet and modify it as you wish. Go ahead and press reply to your tweets more quickly. And the last use case that I'll touch on before I get into FAQs is internal, how it can help you with internal efficiency. So one thing that I have already used it a lot for is summarizing meeting notes. Let's say you have a huge Google Doc of all of your meeting notes, but you want to send out a Slack message to your team with the key highlights of what was discussed. You could paste in your Google Doc into ChatGPT, ask it to summarize, and then it will come up with a nice, neat summary for you to share out. And here's an example from ChatSpot. ChatSpot has a ton of pre-filled prompts in the prompt library. And so ChatSpot, some of the reports or some of the commands that it has are pulling reports from HubSpot. So if I wanted to pull a quick report from HubSpot, here's an example. You can ask ChatSpot to pull a report of your monthly revenue in the last 4 years, and it will generate it for you as a bar chart. You can even view it as a table, copy and paste this, and send it out to your team, or prepare for an upcoming presentation if that is what you're looking for the report for. So that was a lot. I will pause now and I will talk about first some FAQs for generative AI. And then from there, I will open it up to Q&A so you all can ask your own questions that I haven't covered here. The first and biggest one that I want to cover is one that I know has been one of the biggest questions and fears about generative AI. And that is AI going to displace jobs? And this is a spicy topic, and nobody, including myself, knows the exact answer to this. I'm going to answer with what I do know, and I am quite optimistic. So I'll get into more information on why I'm optimistic on the next slide, and specifically why I don't think that marketers, agencies, content creators specifically will be replaced. There was a study by McKinsey saying that it is possible for some jobs to be displaced by AI. But what the study did show is that the number of possible jobs created is significantly greater than the number of possible jobs displaced. So I found that to be pretty promising. My advice would be then to learn to coexist with AI and use it to augment yourself and your role to become even more productive. And my advice is that if you take whatever you're already knowledgeable about and learn to use AI on top of that, then you will be even more uniquely qualified to do very valuable work by applying AI to whatever area you're already an expert in. So a marketer using AI will always be better and more efficient than a non-marketer using AI, or a software engineer using AI will always be better and more efficient than a non-software engineer using AI. And so to dig into this a little bit more, these are some of my own opinions on, will AI ever replace agencies, marketers, sales reps, or content creators? My opinion is that the answer is no. I think that generative AI is like many other groundbreaking and transformational technologies that we've seen in the past to improve efficiency. I made this analogy up, so sorry if it's bad, but I like to think of generative AI sort of like a tractor. Like a tractor, generative AI is a tool, not a replacement. The tractor does not replace the need for a farmer. And AI, like a tractor, needs human input. Someone still needs to be driving the tractor. Someone still needs to be writing the prompts and giving the AI instructions. And also, definitely don't want to undervalue and undersell that human expertise and human relationships are extremely valuable and irreplaceable. The tractor is only good as its manufacturer that made it. And the farmer still has experience on how to use it most efficiently. The farmer still has relationships with the community. And so only the farmer will know how to get the best results. Overall, the tractor makes the farmer more productive and frees up their time to focus on more valuable work. The next thing that I would like to touch on is, does Google penalize AI-generated content in rankings? So Google said in their most recent updated search guidelines, the snippet that I have screenshotted on the right, Google has said that they reward high-quality content, however it is produced. So what they're saying here in this updated search guidelines is that they will not penalize content just purely because it's being co-written by an AI. Google looks specifically at content quality and whether or not it actually helps their searchers and answers their question. So your end goal should always be, whether you're using AI or not, to ensure that your content is original, high quality, and helping your users. If it is not helpful and you're using AI just to produce a high volume of stuff that isn't really useful to anybody, then it could potentially harm your rankings. The next one that I want to ask about that I want to talk about is generative AI likely to plagiarize? It is highly unlikely that generative AI will write text that's written elsewhere on the internet, but it does depend on the model. GPT-3 and ChatGPT generally do not plagiarize, as the neural network uses its whole entire training set to create sentences piecemeal. So it uses logic and reasoning to build sentences bit by bit. It doesn't crawl the internet and take sentences from works and then paste them into the paragraphs. That being said, despite this approach, it is possible that ChatGPT may generate responses that are unintentionally similar to or resemble existing works, especially if it's been trained on a large corpus of text. So with that, it is important to always attribute sources and credit any existing works that have been used as an inspiration. And it can still be a good practice to run your work through a plagiarism checker. Some tools like Jasper and Grammarly have separate plagiarism checkers that you can run your content through. All right, so now let's go into the Q&A. I will open up the floor for questions, and I do see there are already some listed in the chat, so maybe I'll start there, and then we can go ahead and open it up to even more. So let me just scroll up a little bit in the chat.
I think Steve Grant question that I saw.
Okay. How can we tell if those numbers in the table are accurate, given that ChatGPT doesn't always give accurate answers? I'm assuming that you are referring to the SEMrush or the keyword research data, and the answer is assume that it is not accurate. That information in the table that I posted was meant to be actually an example of why it is not accurate, because in that slide, I'll go back a little bit. Where was it? In that slide, I had side by side ChatGPT's response and then the actual keyword data from SEMrush. And you could see in the side by side, I think it was in here. Maybe I didn't have a side by side. Maybe I did. Aha, here it is. Okay. You can see here in the side by side, this is what ChatGPT came up with. And then this is the same keyword in SEMrush that's showing different data. This shows the keyword difficulty is 89. This says it's 40. This shows the volume is 74. This shows that it is 90. So for any keyword data, I would just assume it's wrong or that it's not accurate. That doesn't mean it couldn't be accurate, but I would just not rely on it for accurate keyword information. I see the next question is from Lisa. You're entering links into ChatGPT prompts, but I thought that ChatGPT was not actively on the internet. Yeah, so what Lisa is referring to is ChatGPT is not like a crawler, so it doesn't work like a search engine in that you can't ask it for specific results and specific links on the internet. I have found in my experimentation that sometimes given the link to a blog post, it is able to actually summarize it. I'm not entirely sure how that works. I just have found that it has. But if you find that it is not working and that you're not getting good results from it, an alternative is to just copy the text from the LinkedIn profile or from the blog post into ChatGPT directly, and then it should still be able to generate tailored input for you from there. All right, let's see what the next question is. I saw one from Dave. What is the process of getting into the private beta for this? Okay, so I will give out my email and I'll give it to Tony in the follow-up. If you are interested in being added to the private beta for Content Assistant, reach out to me over email with your HubSpot ID and I will ungate your portal from it for it. Okay, the next question is, I'm curious about ChatSpot, but by using our data from HubSpot, is there a security implication? So ChatSpot GPT does train on the prompts that you enter. So you could enter in like a question asking it to complete a response similar to how you would in ChatGPT. ChatSpot doesn't retain information about users' identity, and conversations are stored in an encrypted manner. So personally identifying information in ChatSpot is anonymized. There's also an OAuth connection from ChatSpot into your portal, so it will not access any of your portal data unless you complete the OAuth process and give it explicit permission to access your portal. How can we ensure the tractor doesn't hijack our business data? Ungated is a little bit scary. I hear that. As of right now, before we go into public beta, we're working on more robust documentation, and HubSpot's working on an AI policy our legal team is currently writing that we'll draft up and share out. We've definitely gotten some questions around this. I will say that if you and your legal team have any concerns about being ungated, we are able to remove folks from the gate. But for the most part, we are purely going to be using prompts and usage metrics the way that we would use any other data within the HubSpot product. So using your usage metrics and your chat prompts to make the product better and better understand how users are interacting with the product. If you see a lightning bolt in HubSpot, does that mean that you're in the beta? I think so. I can't think of any other places that the lightning bolt is present inside of HubSpot other than the beta. So the lightning bolt would show up inside of the content editor. If you are highlighting text and you see a lightning bolt, that means that your portal is inside of the beta. Any other questions? Oh, and Mark, I also just thought of something else too that I forgot to mention. So as of right now, there isn't any way to opt a specific website out of large language models. I mentioned earlier that large language models train on like public web pages on the internet. However, many large language models are trained to respect preferences around crawling and indexing. So if your website is no indexed, that would also mean it's not crawlable by Google. But if there's content that you don't want to be crawled, large language models will, for the most part, respect that preference. Any other questions? Will there be getting this as a recording to share out with our team? I will popcorn that one over to Tony. I do believe this is recorded.
Yes,
and Tony also has access to my slides to share out as well.
Yep, you'll get both the slides and the recording probably within the hour, I would guess.
Yes. Thank you all so much for welcoming me to the Boston Hug. It's certainly been a pleasure, and I am looking forward to seeing any requests coming in for access to the Content Assistant beta. Tony will share out my email, and yeah, we can continue our conversation there.